Ma'at Hotep. Welcome to Raising the Feminine Principle. I am your host, Priestess Satra Nidert, Kefa Abe Menunk Ma'at. Welcome. As you know, when I like to begin my shows, that I like to give my thanks and appreciation and respect to my elders, my teachers, and my ancestors, and those who have helped me along the way to become who I have become and to be in the journey that I'm on. I first like to give my thanks to the One Most High, as without the One Most High, I would not be a thought. I would not be on the journey that I am on. I would not be in this place where I'm at. It would be a very different situation, and I give thanks to that. Thank you, One Most High, for allowing me to be who I am, allowing myself to welcome the self that is me, that is you, to see the truth in my being so I can walk that path of that truth as living Ma'at and standing on my Ma'at Karu at all times. Thank you. I'd like to give thanks to my teachers, many of them who are teachers, which I'm sure they are very well aware of this, that they have many, even though it's never met, due to their teachings of the writings that they have in their books, that they have shared their knowledge with us, or in their videos that they share their knowledge with us. I thank you for all the many master teachers that are out there, that are guiding people, that are helping them to wake up to the truth of themselves, to have what is in them to come out, to be able to help heal and guide other people just as they are doing themselves. For me, those teachers are Shakem Shakem Ra Unifer Amen, as well as Asher Kwesi and Dr. Delbert Blair, Dr. Africa, Haru Angra Samaj, who is the creator of my Ankh with the K on it, which is my symbol for Kefa, as well as my ring. He is the owner, the creator of the studio of Pita, where he has also done the well-known Ankh ring that Erykah Badu wears. I thank you for the knowledge that you have shared with me and guided me along the way to see certain things in myself, the fears that I was having within myself in other areas of my life that I wasn't aware of. I thank you for that, as well as his wife, Queen Afua, which I had come to realize yesterday that she was actually one of the first of the teachers that I had came across as the feminine principle. She is the author of Sacred Woman and many other books that she has written that has been a great help to women anywhere, and helping us in the healing of our wombs, and helping us the healing of our bodies, and understanding the purpose of our bodies, and our wisdom that we hold, and the spiritual presence that we hold. I thank you, Queen of Food, for that. There are so many other teachers that are out here that are just people that have been in my journey, that has helped me along the way, that don't even realize that they are teachers as well as students, just as I am a teacher and a student as well. I give thanks for that as well, for the people that have been in my life to help me. You know who you are. I can sit here and give a list and be giving this list for about a good day or two, because there's just that many people in my life. There are those who have been very significant in my life and my journey, who has helped me along the way because they are a reflection of who I am. And that would be my sister Hadassah, who is the sister who was on two of my shows when I was in Patterson, New Jersey, and seeing that she is a reflection of a part of who I am, and she helped me to see that, and I helped her to see that in herself, so we can be able to help each other out and guide each other in what we need to do in our journey, as well as a sister, Tanisha McFadden, here in Dundalk, Maryland. She has been assistance even more in recent time frames of helping me to see another side of myself in places that I have ignored, and other avenues that I didn't see at first, and things of my past, and helping me to see the relationship of myself with even my children, how I was and how I can be, and so on. And I respect that, and I appreciate that of her. Many others, brothers who I've come across, who has helped me and guided me along the way. You know, like I said, I could name so many. You know who you are. Just because I'm not naming your name does not mean you're not special to me, you're not unique to me, that you are not a part of my journey, because you are. I give thanks to the mirror, who is truly me, who is the masculine principle of me, as I am the feminine principle of him, my spiritual twin, Amenhotep, Setep, and Ra, Mary, Amen. I would not be so much of who I am if it wasn't for you and you're sharpening me and guiding me and strengthening me. As my moments of time of weakness, you were my strength. And when I felt like the fire was not within me, you helped bring that fire back in me, and I thank you for that. You are a true blessing in my life, and I'm glad that you are a part of my life in any shape or form that you have been there, because I have no regrets and no qualms of the people that have been in my life. I thank you for that. My children, my family, without the experiences and the events that I had in my life, I would not have nothing to overcome. And I have to give thanks to the people in my lives who, where we were considered issues and problems, there really were blessings, because they were helping me to heal. They were helping me to see things within myself. And even though there were a lot of the issues that I went through were due to choices that I made, emotional choices that I made, it still is a blessing to have learned and to have grown from that and to live in the truth from that. So I give thanks for that. To all the leaders, our civil rights leaders, our elders, our ancestors who have come here before us, who have led the life, who have fought the battles, so that we can even have the freedom that we feel that we have now to move around, to talk and say whatever we want to have the ability to grow and build and to become entrepreneurs, to own our own businesses, to be a top executives, to even be the president of the United States. You know, I thank you to my civil rights leaders, our Malcolm X, our Marcus Garvey, our Martin Luther King Jr., our Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, all the different people that have gone through that. Thank you so much for what you went through, the pain and sorrow that you had to go through, the fight that you had to go through to allow us to become who we are today. Thank you. I'm here again in Turner Station Park, and this is where I'm doing my show, which is in Dundalk, Maryland, also known as Baltimore, Maryland. And it's a very peaceful area for me to be by the water. I wish you could see the water behind me. All you can see is the light, but there is a beautiful body of water behind me with people in their boats and some people playing around in the water, as in going fishing and so on. And it's very peaceful to be here at this moment. I'm really shocked that there's not a cookout going on, because usually there is a party that's here. But it's a blessing. It was just time for me to be able to do it here. The title of this show is called The Substitute. The reason why it is called The Substitute is because we don't realize that we are substituting a lot of the issues that we have in our lives with material and physical things in our lives. Women, as the show is based on women, for women, and for men to watch and to have a better understanding of the things that women go through, I like to bring a balance into my discussions and what I'm sharing with you and what I'm helping to build with you. But being that it is for women, I do focus most of my energy on the feminine principle and not as much on the masculine principle, unless it's for healing and to help them to open up to a doorway in their lives that they're not paying attention to. When I speak about substitute, we substitute many things. We, as women, our first teachers of how we are with men in our lives is based off of our relationships to our fathers, or whoever it is the masculine principle that raised us, that helped bring life into us, to build us, to mold us to who we have become, along with our own surroundings and society that has helped us to become who we've become today. Women, you need to know and pay attention, just like men do. When we are choosing the mates that we have, we are choosing men who remind us of our fathers. We are choosing whether it's the positive side or the negative side of them. If you have a father who was wonderful, caring, nurturing in his way, as a masculine principle would be nurturing to a young child, a female child, a little girl, however you want to, the words you want to use. You know, if he's loving and caring, he's protective, he's guiding her, he's, showing the strength of her being, showing her how beautiful she is, taking care of her, not just the material things, but the time and quality time being spent with her, as I experienced with my grandfather. wasn't basing things off of completely material things, but just the quality time and loving. When we as women experience that, we are also looking for that in the men that we're with. And we do that because that's the only thing about men that we know about. The only thing we know about men is based off of what we learned from our fathers first. And for those of us who don't have our fathers around and they're just completely absent, then you don't know what to really look for, and it kind of puts you out in the open to accept almost anything and not really knowing what to be guided from or guided by. We are unfortunate, especially as women who are born in households with the absent father in the house, very angry and hurt of why the man is left. Not so much if he is the one that passed away, but he have left for his reasons. We become spiteful, angry, vindictive, and so we say negative things about the father to the child, and that's not right to the child, because the child has a right to get to know their fathers in the manner that they need to know, and not based off of how the mother feels about the father, because a man might not be a good man to her, but it doesn't mean that he won't be a good father to their child. And that is something that we as women really need to get out of, and stop downing our men in a manner that we are, putting them down and saying things negative about them just because they're not with us anymore, just because they made different choices. You have to respect people for the choices that they make and the direction that they're going, even if it's the opposite direction of you. We must learn to appreciate what we have in the men and what we experience with these men, and be able to let them go and stop holding on and holding grudges and leading our children's lives by those grudges and anger and hurt that we're feeling. Because a lot of us women, we do that. And that's not something that is just a joke. It really is serious. This is what we do. And we need to change that. We need to better ourselves in how we respond and raise our children. We need to pay attention to the positives and the negatives of our fathers. There are many of us, as I've been talking to many sisters in the past couple of weeks or so, and speaking about their relationships with their fathers, where their fathers might have been very abusive, they might have been verbally abusive, they might have been physically abusive, they might have been manipulators, they might have been child molesters, and molesting their children and so on, touching the children in ways that they shouldn't, or feeling that with their uncles, their cousins, their brothers, and so on. And these are experiences that really just should never happen, because originally in melanated people, we were never that way. That is something that became eventually a learned behavior. We were not into the incest situations and abusing children, because we understood that the children are our life. They are the reflection of who we are. They are the generations. They are the seeds that we planted here. And what is the point of planting a seed just to kill it off? It doesn't make sense to do that. That is a learned behavior, which is a barbaric behavior, and not of a spiritual mindset or a spiritual consciousness, thought, and action to do. What happens is when we grow up in that type of emotional and fearful environment, tend to hold on to that, and we're paying attention to that, and we're not seeing that that's what we're doing. Now, when I'm speaking about substitutes or substitutions, because it's not just about the relationships. I will speak about everything else that we substitute things for. Instead of facing the root issues, we create surface issues, and those surface issues becomes the substitute of the root issues that we're ignoring. We find these men that we feel that are similar to the masculine principle that we have been around in our lives, and then we wonder why we have the issues that we have. We wonder why we're fighting with our men. We wonder why we're depressed, and why we're in abusive relationships, and why we can't figure out why we need to just walk away, why we allow fear to set in so that we won't move forward and do what we need to do. And that is a problem. And more as I sit back and I listen and I think about my own life and the stories that I went through, even for me, my grandfather, American Indian, and apparently he was very negative to his children, to his wife, but he wasn't like that towards me. We had our moments, but for the most part, my grandfather was right there with me. He was, like I said, spent quality time with me. He made things for me by his hands. He didn't just go out and buy things and just give me everything that I could think of that I ever wanted, and anything I didn't want. That was what my grandmother did. But I learned later that my grandfather was abusive, and that he was mentally abusive, emotionally abusive, and physically abusive to his wife, which was my grandmother. And I was not aware of that. I had to learn that later. And since I learned that later, that became something that stayed into my thoughts, into my mentals. I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandparents used to argue and fight all the time. And it was about a lot of senseless things that they were really arguing about that just didn't make sense to me of why they were arguing. But they did. That's what they did, and that was their relationship. But it wasn't a positive relationship. That was still considered a toxic relationship. They both had their issues due to the choices that they made in their lives, and those choices that they made in their lives, them marrying each other was them substituting the root issue for the surface issue. And that's what their marriage was based upon, and not even realizing that that's what they were doing. Because we're not taught to recognize when we are about to substitute a surface issue, a new surface issue for a root problem. That is a westernized way of thinking. That's what the westernized medicine is for. Is they address the outer issues. Like if you have a headache and you are used to taking Tylenol or Aleve or things like that, and this is not me putting out different medical practices and things like that, or what they feel their solutions. I'm giving examples. If you have a headache or a migraine and you decide I'm going to take some Excedrin. Okay, so you take 2 Excedrins and you take that, and it takes away, and what it says on the bottle, that it relieves you of the symptoms that you are experiencing of a headache. So what it does, it suppresses the nerves and everything that's causing the headache to come about. So it suppresses it. It relieves the tension. It doesn't take away the root issue of why you actually have the headache. So what happens is you wonder why you have another headache again. Well, it's because the root problem was never taken care of. You're continuously taking care of the surface issue. It's like if you have a dirty table and you put a cloth over a dirty table. You can't see the dirt on the table and underneath the table because you got a cloth over it. That's exactly what we do when we are having headaches. That's exactly what we do when we have issues that are deep rooted within our being, and we cover it up. We cover it up in our relationship, the men that we choose. We cover it up in the arguments that we have. We cover it up in medicinal uses, for different types of over-the-counter drugs. We substituted for the street drugs. We substituted for alcohol. We substituted for sex. We substituted for religion. We substituted for many different reasons instead of facing the root cause of why we're feeling the way that we're feeling and why we're experiencing the way what we're experiencing. We need to have a better understanding of why we're substituting the things that we're substituting, so that we can be able to face the issues head on and to stop running away from the problems that we're having, so that we can be able to heal. I have taken notice so strongly that so many of us in life, most of our choices in life are based off of fears and emotions. We choose the relationships that we have because of the fears that we have, not even understanding, the divine love that we need to have for ourselves, so we can have that same for others, so that we're choosing our mates in our lives based off of spiritual consciousness and awareness, and not off of our emotional sides. Our emotional side, which is also known in the ancient Kemetic ways, is our Kemetic side, which is our Kemetic Setian side. That is the lower part of our beings, of our thoughts, our animalistic ways, our human thoughts, that allows us to get caught up in the world and the things of the world, so that we make these choices off of that, and not understanding anymore why we do it, because we do it so often and it becomes habitual that we're not even knowing that we're making these choices anymore. There's so much to learn about ourselves, so much that we have to stop substituting things to thinking that it's going to cure the problems or fix the issues, but we're really just suppressing them or running away from them or ignoring them. Ignoring problems, covering them up, is not going to fix what you're going through. It's just going to keep covering up like a band-aid, and we have to stop doing that. There's so many relationships that when people come to me for counseling, or they are just talking to me, whether it's just girlfriends or so on, they're sharing with me all these issues that they're having with these men, and they're crying and upset, and they just don't understand what's going on. And when I speak to them and I share with them, okay, let's take a step back. Okay, first of all, like I have some friends that are smoking heavily, and they're wondering why, they don't pay attention to the fact that they're smoking heavily, and they think, oh, I just started smoking because it's just something that I wanted to do. Okay, well, in things like that, we never just do something because that's something that just we want to do. There's a reason why you're smoking. It's to cover up a deep-rooted issue that you're dealing with, that you're not trying to face because you are afraid to face it. You're afraid to bring up the past. You're afraid to face those issues so that you can get it head on and get past it. You should never be afraid to get past a problem. A problem is just that. You should be able to go, okay, this is the issue that I'm having. This is what's happening right this moment. Okay, let me deal with it. This is why I did this. This is how I did this. This is how I got myself into that. Let me figure out how I'm going to get myself out of it. And that's what you do. Instead, okay, you know what? I can't deal with this. I just don't feel like dealing with this right now. You know what? Let me go. I'm going to stop at the liquor store real quick and I'm going to buy some alcohol. Or, you know what? I'm going to stop by the gas station. I'm going to buy a pack of Newports. Or especially for women who have been molested or raped when they were children or during their teenage years, our substitution is I'm going to start having sex with men. And this is what we have been doing. We need to wake up, become aware and conscious of what you're doing. Start thinking to yourself before you start getting yourself caught up in these situations that are going to bring you so much pain and sorrow. You need to understand why you're substituting, what you're substituting for. There are so many beautiful women, intelligent women, whether they're book smart, street smart, or whatever it may be, that are not being seen or heard because they're so busy running. Men, you do the same thing. I don't want you to sit here and think that it's just women. Men do the same thing. I watch it. I have so many male friends, and I sit there and I listen to their situations as well, and I see that they're doing actually the same things that we're doing, but it's not really known because they kind of do it a little differently, But the root issues are still the same. The root issues have not changed. It's just that there's a masculine principle, there's a feminine principle, and that's just all it is. Again, it's what you're substituting. I have to give, the only way that I feel that I can help and assist correctly is that I must give situations based off of my life. And that's the only way that I can explain to you to let you know that it can happen. You can face it. You are strong enough to do it, and that you can get through it. I didn't realize that a lot of my relationships that I chose was based on so much. I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather died when I was 13. My issues that I had faced was, first, I did not have my mother and father in the home. I was raised from my age of 4 and up by my grandparents, with my grandfather in my life until of knowing and remembering from that age of 4 all the way down to 13 when he passed away. My grandmother took over from there. My mother stepped in for a while, then I went back to my grandmother. I didn't have a constant masculine principle in my life. Then from there I went to actually the next person that was in my life that was a masculine principle was my first love father. Unfortunately, he passed away in time as well, and I was very close to him as well, and that was a very difficult time for me to accept the fact that the first man in my life was not there. The second man in my life, who was my grandfather, he was there, but at the same time, he ended up passing away. He died of lung cancer from smoking, chewing tobacco, and so on, and he eventually passed away. Then my father, who came back 18 years later, and I forgave him for not being here, and we made all these great plans. We're going to do all these things together with him and now his grandchild and so on. And what happens? My father was murdered. He was shot and killed like 2 or 3 days later after I met him. Matter of fact, it's 2 days later after I finally physically met him. Forgave him for not being here. He died. I had gotten to the point where the men in my life that were of significant importance in my life passed away. They were gone. They were removed. I had already had abandoned myself when my grandfather died, because he was such an important part of my life that I when he died, a big part of him, a big part of myself died with him. And that was a very difficult time for me to deal with that. It may not sound like anything serious, but it really is. It's much more serious than what people think it is, because that ended up dictating my life and the relationships that I had with people and having successful and non-successful relationships. Along with that was watching how my family reacted with each other, seeing how there wasn't really any real successful marriages in my family, relationships in my family, people staying together for, you know, the love for each other and respect for each other and honor each other. But there were circumstances and reasons why each of these people were together, you know, and it's just growing up and seeing that. Even my younger cousin, who she eventually got married, she was in a toxic relationship. She was ready to leave it and walk away. She died, and her husband died not too long afterwards. But, you know, I learned a lot from her, but I was watching all this happening, you know, and it's like when you're seeing all these things happening, it gives you a certain thought process on the type of men you come across and what you want. And what happens is either you're going to do two things. Either you're going to follow suit in what you have learned as a child growing up, that's embedded into you. It's also a part of your bloodline. It's in your DNA to experience certain things. But it's for us to wake up from those things so that we won't experience it in the same manner as they had. And so what happened is I took on that pattern instead of being the opposite of what I saw. And actually I was, let me change that. I was to a degree. I was like kind of imbalancing that. I was opposite, but I followed at the same time. It became a crutch in my life. So I ended up coming across men who were manipulative, men who were abusive, whether it's abusive emotionally, physically, mentally, materially, because you could be abusive in material manners as well. And it was just a very difficult time. You know, I had a rough time in school, and then of course because my how the men that I have learned about and was around, I brought these type of negative, toxic men who are very controlling. They were controlling over my body, you know, because unfortunately, as I've said before, I was raped several times when I was young growing up. Not by family members, but outside people, but people that I knew who I thought were cool, or I thought were my friends. So, you know, even in my marriage, I was raped in my own marriage, you know, and I was married for 7 years. I was in one of the hardest and worst times of my life, because I was so down and out. I was stuck in a box. And I know women, you have come across this where you feel this way and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way out. What am I doing? At that time, I was so upset. I was so messed up. I was drinking to not think about it. I was smoking all the time, not think about it. I got into weed smoking, and because I didn't want to think about it, to numb myself, to run away from the issues that I was not dealing with. I was argumentative all the time. I was always yelling at my children a lot because I was just so upset and so depressed and feeling the way that I was feeling. I was like highly sexual. I was allowing myself to do practically almost anything that you could think of that was sexual bound. Even if it was only with one person, I was still just in the thought process that I just didn't care. I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to numb my mind. That was the drinking and the smoking. I wanted to numb my body. That's what the sex and everything was. And then to numb my spirit, I started getting caught up into religions and things like that. See, and a lot of people don't think that religions can be a substitute, because a lot of people get into religions because they're hurting and they want something to help them to kind of forget it. It doesn't help them to cure. It doesn't help them to fix the root issues, because things like religions, politics, drugs, alcohol, sex, eating disorders, all these different things, all of them are like westernized medication. You take it to relieve you of the symptoms that you are experiencing until it comes up again, and you try to take it again, and until it relieves you. See, I have been blessed and I didn't realize that it was a blessing. I cannot take westernized medicine for more than 3 to 5 days before my body becomes immune to it and it rejects it. And I wish that my mind was set that way when it came to all the toxic relationships that I was in, because I would have been better off, much sooner. But, things are different when it comes to emotions and mental thoughts and everything. But that's what I did. I found everything to substitute and to cover up and to relieve every single part of that tensions and issues that I was having, including the relationships that I was in. The relationships that I chose were the cover-ups as well. My biggest one that I've had, you would think would be my marriage, and it was not. My biggest one that I've had is the very last situation that I was in. I was with a brother for off and on for 7 years. We were going back and forth with each other, having this relationship with each other. We knew each other's bodies very well. And I'm not going to get too personal into it, and I'm not going to tell too much of my business, but though you will read a lot of it in my book. I don't give names, but I do give situations because this is my life and I have the right to do that. Especially if it's to help and to heal and to bring some type of light into your life and enlightenment to your life so that you can see how you can take care of these things. I'm going to share a little bit more with you, and then I'm going to tell you how the Spirit showed me to break it down, to get past it, to overcome it. And it was through the spiritual principles and the spiritual laws of the One Most High that got me there. And that was through the ancient ancestors' Kemetic ways of living their lives through their cultivation. Anyway, I found every means that I could to numb and to help forget every single thing that I was dealing with, all the problems that I was dealing with, the arguments, the fightings, the putting downs, the, not going to make it anywhere, the being dependent on other people to live, and to the emotional stress that I was in and feeling incompetent, that I can't make it anywhere, that I'm a loser and I can't function if I'm not a good mother, I'm not a good, good person or whatever, and I'm ugly because I'm gaining weight, I'm not pretty because I'm gaining weight, and so on. And I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on. And then being abused, hit on, raped, almost killed before, and it's just, there was a lot of different things that I experienced in my life. When I didn't start really waking up to all that until one day I was in New York, and I was experiencing a situation, and I was like, I had just finished doing something. I was just finished being sexual. And what happened was, I was online while my friend went upstairs to take care of something. I went online to look up, I was on, I think, I forgot what the name of the social website I was on at the time. Tagged. That's what I was on. I was on Tagged. And on Tagged, there was this, there was a new person that had popped on, and I wanted to take a look at that. I wanted to see what this person was and who they was, and really is because I thought he was very nice looking. So what I did was, just so you know, you're going to hear people in the background because there are kids now that are over here playing football right where I am. So if you hear it, it's happening right now. Anyway, I went to click on and say, I went to click on it to see what the person was and what they were about, but the page was lost. It just disappeared. In that, the page got mixed up and went to another page, and I went to, hold on for a second. Could y'all do me a favor not to be so loud, because I'm doing a show on my computer. Just for a little bit longer. It's called Raising the Feminine Principles. It's a show for women, but I need to finish it off because it's recording while I'm talking to y'all. No. But thank you, if y'all don't mind, just for a little bit longer. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Wasn't expecting that was going to be on the show, but that's how it is. Sometimes I'm outside and I can't expect that everything is going to happen the manner that I want it to. But anyway, what happened was, I went to this brother's page, and on that page, I was scrolling down and came across this video. And in this video, I had found it again recently. It was showing how when you're following the pathway of God's pathway for you, that as long as you're following that pathway and living that life, you are protected. You are through the motions with God and everything. But when you allow yourself to step out of that for a moment and get caught up in the world, that's when you're drinking, you're smoking, you're trying to numb yourself, and you're finding different ways to commit suicide. And that's what you're doing. And the choices that you're making, you're committing suicide slowly but surely. And when I saw what was happening and I realized what that video was expressing to me, I broke out in tears. I was crying. I quickly got myself dressed, and then that was it. I just started getting myself together. And when he came back, he was asking me what was going on, and I shared with him that I realized that I needed to stop. I wish I could tell you that I completely stopped living that life altogether just at that moment, but that's not how it is, because we are very hard-headed because of everything that we have experienced is so deep-rooted and embedded into our thought process and how we're living that it's hard to just let that go. So it took, to be honest, it took almost a year went past before I completely started waking up to that. But different things started happening in my life to show me what I needed to do to wake up and what I was doing to myself. Eventually, after my last situation with the brother that I was with off and on for 7 years, and because I did not see, because I was blind to the reality of when a good came along, I did not pay attention to that person, which ended up being my spiritual twin. We didn't realize that we were each other's spiritual twin until midstream. And what happened was, when I got left behind in New York after a show was done, and this is with my ex and a few other people that was there, and I got left behind, and I had been drinking heavily, and I did not eat anything that day, and I had drank so much that I was throwing up, I was sick, I was just really messed up, and we ended up getting to an argument, me and him, and me and the other girl that he was sleeping with at the time, and and it just got really ugly. I ended up being okay, obviously, as you see, but it taught me a lesson. And it took this young lady, it was three ladies, but it was one white lady who was not talking to me, and she said to me, "Sister, if this man truly loved you, even though you helped him to become who he is, you helped him to wake up to the things that he has done, you helped him to get the jobs that he had, and so on, that if he's treating you the way that he is, and you're sitting here by yourself drunk on the ground, and he left you alone in New York City where you had no idea how to get home, that should let you care about you the way that you would like to think that he is." And so I had to wake up to that. And after I started waking up to that, everything changed. And I started to realize and respect the relationship that I had built with the brother, which is my, the spiritual twin, and started realizing what I was doing. While I was back, when I came back to Maryland and started thinking about my life, and that's when it started showing me what I needed to do. I needed to go back into the roots of the issues and stop numbing myself with the drinking and the smoking and the sex and the religions and all this other stuff. So what I have learned for myself is that weaning myself off is not doing anything, because it just keeps giving me an excuse to keep doing what I'm doing and not really facing the issues. So I stopped cold turkey. I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. I stopped having sex. I stopped myself and realizing what I was doing where the religions were concerned, because I was in fear of everybody else around me and not accepting me for the truth of what I knew. So I brought a surface reason and to make people think certain things that were really not true. And that I really knew more about myself than I really realized that I just was ignoring and wasn't paying attention to. I was able to start, when you realize and breaking down the tree that is yourself, and you start off as Uset, as a sacrifice. I devote myself to becoming my User, to becoming the indwelling God, and letting that run and reign into my life. And by doing that, you go through the stages of Uset to having that, first of the respect of the groundwork, the earth that you are, the body that you are, and having respect and nurturing that and loving that and caring for that as we are supposed to do the earth. Then as Uset, I mourned for the choices that I made and burying the indwelling God within me, to not allowing it to do what it needs to do to help and heal myself and the world around me, the people around me. And I wasn't doing that. And I had to mourn for that first and feel the pain out of that. And then after I did that, I devoted myself to becoming who I needed to become. And through that, I had to run up through what we call the Sebek stage. And that is coming to an understanding of, one, that we are just the things that are separate. They are to be separate because we are one body, many members. It is understanding what the purpose is of each member. What does it do? How does it do it? And then how does that work for the whole? Because even though I am Kefa, I am this body that I have. This body has many different limbs that does different things. I have hands that can pick up and touch things. I got feet that allow me to breathe. I have a brain that allows me to think. I got my eyesight and my mouth that I can speak and all this other stuff. I got ears so I can hear. All these different parts of my bodies, they're different parts, they're separations, but they work for the whole. And that's the understanding that I had to get about myself, and how I work, how I have so many different levels and different parts and different stages and different areas of my life, and how that works for the whole that makes me who I am, or who I thought I was to be. Then you raise from there to your Heteru stage, or the principle, because they're all principles. Your Heteru principle is for seeing things, the images of things, and seeing that you are a divine being that's making these choices, or you are a human that is making these choices. And envisioning the things that you want to see in your life and direction that you want to go and how you want to get there, you know, letting it guide you and strengthen you, and having that divine passion for yourself, and the earthly love that you would have for yourself. And then moving further up from that to your Heru stage. Your Heru stage is the balance, which is the Christ stage. That is where you have been conceived, and you have been born and birthed into this reality, and that you are the balance of your father or in your mother, which is the balance of the spiritual self of Uset and the spiritual self of Usair, and coming into that truth and reality that you can call upon your higher self to make it through the times that you're in, or see we're fighting against your lower self, which is the Set within you, the earthly side of you going back and forth. And the only way that you can win against the battle of the good and bad within you is to go to your higher self to be guided for that. Then moving up to your Hirakuti stage. And your Hirakuti stage is your karma, your justice, and understanding why the events happen, and the consequences of every choice that you make, because consequences are not negative nor positive. Then you go up to your Ma'at stage, which is your balance of your law, your divine love, order. She is the interrelationships of things, as she is that one thing that allows you to understand everything that's happening in your life and why they happen in the manner that they have been. Then you move up from your Ma'at stage to your Sekert stage, which the life force, what we call Ra within us, that is the power, the force behind everything that we are able to do spiritually to create things and manifest in the physical world. We move up from there and to guide into our Tehuti stage, which is the wisdom of the One Most High, the wisdom that is within you, that divine plan that allows you to go and know what you need to do, coming from the master plan. Then you rise to your Usair stage, and that is the indwelling God. That is the oneness of all things that connects you to everything, and understanding why you have that peace and love of everything, no matter who they are, and whether you feel they may be against you or not, because nothing is against you except yourself. And then you raise to the Amen stage and understand that you are a peace that is undisturbed. In that, I was able to wake up to the process of how to heal myself, and to what I need to do to get through these issues that I was dealing with, and what I was substituting all these problems with, the root issues of my being. So through that, I was able to start waking up to the issues of my family, and breaking down the family problems that I was experiencing, and the family issues that they were having before I came into existence, and how it ran through them, and how it ran through me, and how it was going through my children. And I had to wake up from that. And by doing that, I was able to bring a type of healing in my being. And sometimes I felt like it was FedEx to me so fast that it was overwhelming. But it helped me to get to where I am. I'm still no longer smoking, still no longer drinking, still no longer having sex. The last time I was intimate was almost a year ago, coming January 22nd. And I'm still not going to be doing that, because I don't want to bring that into my body. I had become a vegetarian for quite a while, and then due to allow myself to get caught up a little bit in a stressful situation, I started that's something that I am going to again quit cold turkey, because I'm realizing how it changes your mentals and the things that you do and the choices that you make, because the food and the toxins and the poisons and stuff that are in the meat that we're consuming every day. So much of my life has changed. I don't smoke weed. I don't do drugs. I'm not emotional. I don't get upset. I don't dictate my life off of these emotions. Everything is based off of spiritual guidance and the choices that I'm making from there. And I still have my different fears that I'm fighting from, but I had to learn and grow from that. I would like to see you do the same. Find out and think to yourself, why were you smoking in the beginning? What made you decide to pick up that drink? What made you decide to start, belittling your body and defiling your body, even with the tattoos and stuff that we're putting onto our body, and what we're consuming to our bodies that is allowing us to bring cancer into our bodies, and diabetes and so on, the strokes and heart attacks that we have and have consumed as Black people. We need to understand and realize why we have made these choices. What are we covering up? Why are we running away and ignoring the issues that we have had before? We need to work through those and get through that. And the only way to get through the problems and issues that you're dealing with is through the spiritual laws that are here and designed for us that cannot change. Man's laws can change. Man's principles are very different than the principles of the spirit. This is the things that I do I help people to realize their root issue. Why, those who have rooted issues, and you see that you have, why are you treating your children the way children are acting the way that they are? If it's not positive, I can help, because that's how the spirit help guide you. If for that counseling, I favorite 9P. You can leave a message that's Kefa. You can on YouTube Sweet Tees. You me, and we can vibe there. And this show has been very helpful to you. That really means, and that it will guide you are to become more. How I love my show. It's a part of Israel, and I don't want to be offend someone as well. Thank you, his wife on WWWPT.